2, 1. What's poppin', fight fans? It is Tuesday, October 6th, and I am joined by MMA royalty, combat sports royalty, a legend, undefeated, undisputed, 3-time UFC title challenger. He fought for Bellator. He's got his own submission underground competition. Mr. Chael Sonnen, the American Gangster.
What's happening, brother? That was a nice intro, a little bit unneeded, but I appreciate it. How's everything going?
Everything's going pretty well. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to thank.
I got to tell you, that's a pretty fly jacket you got on there.
Thank you so much. It's a little, blazer. I'm from South Florida, so I got to make sure I show that tropicalness, from down here.
You got to be a little warm, though, aren't you? I mean, South Florida, what do you got? You guys about 100 degrees right now, or am I wrong?
I'm too cool to be hot, so I'm all good. So, Chael,
right there, you guys about 100 degrees right now?
About 92 degrees right now, yes, and it is October.
And you guys have humidity, right? See, I'm out here in Portland, and we have, this will make you jealous, we have no humidity, which is an exaggerate. We have no humidity. Even on our nicest day, we just don't have to deal with that humidity. So
we have that every single day I walk outside my house. Right? It's sweat. It is sweat. But this. Thank you again, Chael, for joining me. I appreciate it so much.
Blah, blah, blah.
I love this.
Chael's a great guy. Blah, blah, blah.
First, all right. So how are you making time for all these interviews? You have the Ariel and the bad guy. You got your submission underground. You got work for Bellator, and you found the time. Anytime I go on YouTube or any form of social media, you're on there.
That's a real compliment, because essentially what you're saying is you find Chael to be a hard worker. I don't know if there's a bigger compliment you can give a man. I got to just tell you, I don't deserve it. It's the opposite, man. I am bored out of my mind. We have very little going on. You got the pandemic, which has slowed things down. Yeah. So now not only is there little to do, there's nobody to do little with. And then my state, we were just on fire, if you can believe that. I mean, literally, our whole state was burning. That's gone. We got 3 days of incredible rain, which put all the fires out. But I've never lived through anything like that. I read about them in California. We don't have that in Oregon. We got like this big windstorm, knocked over power lines that fell into our forest that started the whole thing's on fire. Just an unforeseen accident. But that shut me down too. So when I tell you I'm bored and I got nothing to do, I got nothing going on, man. I'm happy to be talking to you.
Hey, thank you so much for talking to me. So now that you're in your post-MMA career, in a sense, what side of your career did you enjoy the most? Wrestling, MMA, or the media side?
Oh, on that perspective, that was a tough one. I really enjoyed the media, and that wasn't there for the first part of my career. I had my first fight in 1997. The dot-com boom was just going. Like, our sport survived on the internet for a period of time, for an entire era. Yeah. That wasn't even it. 1997, people were getting computers that had come around, I think, in like 1994. But it was just small. So when the media did come, yeah, man, that was a major pat on the back. Even the viewers can relate to this. Everybody works hard, and everybody tries hard every day. But almost nobody will be recognized for that. It's a very unique thing. And the other side of it is you're going to have some failures in this sport too. Those are going to get recognized. But I will tell you, as a guy, I got an ego like anybody else. And it was a very cool thing to work hard and have that work recognized. And I don't want to say that. I think that might have sounded arrogant. I meant it to sound the opposite, but it was something that I appreciated living through. And had I not been on the other side of the coin, I wouldn't know. Like the guys that prop into the sport now, a lot of time these media opportunities are tiresome for them, or they're annoying to them. They blow them off. I understand that, but that's because they don't know what it was like to not have them. They don't know what it was like to be out of the sport trying to get your name out there, and you had no way to do it. And the best you could do is to go show up at a fight at the dog park in front of 80 people and help that they tell somebody. But that's the way you did it. Now I have you, right? I don't have to go to the dog park, just by example.
Yeah, that's right. So I interviewed Chris Laban about a month ago, and I asked him a question on what was his more satisfying victory. And he said against Wanderlei Silva. What was your more satisfying victory? And was it Wanderlei Silva?
Wanderlei would probably come to mind just because of where we were back then. But a satisfying victory. I had a guy who was my rival. He was my nemesis. And this is like nobody knew about this again because of the time of the media. We had our first fight in 1999, and we fought again in 2000 and something. Then we rematched in the UFC in 2005. His name was Trevor Prangley. And
Trevor, absolutely.
Great guy, and he was a great competitor. And he was one of these guys that was ahead of the curve at the time. He was a wrestler from South Africa. He moved over here. He wrestled like a junior college situation, got right into MMA, locked up with Josh Thompson. And, they were doing some stuff in the AK. They were just a little bit ahead of everybody else. Yeah. So I always admired his skills. I always admired where he was at. I'd watch him and I'd study him. And I finally was able to beat him. We fought 3 times. I only won 1 of those. But the time I was finally able to beat him, and I felt good about that. It was and my coach, Robert Follis, had fought Trevor. Trevor beat my coach up too. So he beat me up. He beat my coach up. So we were able to go in there together, get that one back. I guess that was my most satisfying victory.
All right. So you have your Submission Underground organization now. Why did you go that route instead of going the MMA organization route?
Well, you know what? A couple of reasons, and very unsophisticated, by the way. So I've been promoting MMA since 2001, and we have a deal out here in Oregon, and we don't have distribution, but for this area, we produced 17 guys that were amateurs, started in our show, no experience, made it to the UFC. 2 referees, 2 judges, and 1 timekeeper, who happens to be my mother. My mother's actually made it now to the UFC. She's got a timekeep 2 different times for him. But here's what was happening. Okay, I would go in to practice, and there would be 8 guys for MMA. I would go into that same gym when there was a jiu-jitsu practice. We'd have 130 people in there. It would be massive. And I started to realize while the fans to grappling are very small compared to the fans to MMA, the participants in grappling exponentially are larger than those in MMA. I thought it was an underserved market. I did not like the way that grappling was being done. I still have a real frustration with other grappling promotions. They don't follow the same rules. Yeah. Every organization has to have their own damn rule set. Well, now you don't know what's going on. You can't get on Sports Center to talk about a grappling event when you got different rules. Any basketball gym in the world you go in, I don't care if it's 5-year-olds playing or if it's LeBron playing. You put the hoop in the basket, they give you 2 points. It's very straightforward. There's 4. It's the same rules. Yeah. But for some reason, grappling thinks in every organization they have to have their own damn rule set. Well, now you don't have anything. How are you possibly going to identify a ranking system and or a champion when you have 20 organizations with 20 different rule sets? So some of it I came in out of frustration. And ultimately, when I talked to Dana and said, how do you want to do this? And he bought the product, and he said, I want to see grappling, and I want to see it done right. And that's how we got here.
That's awesome. And speaking of somebody who's just started their own league, Mike Tyson recently started his Legends League. You think that you agree with that format of how he's bringing back people who have retired, who want to reclaim that glory again? And would you compete?
I don't mind the philosophy behind what Tyson's doing. I think that Tyson is seeing himself, right? And that's the golden rule in life, right? You look at yourself. How would I want to be treated? That's how I'm going to treat others. I'm not sure that he's aware enough of the aura that is Mike Tyson. That is a one-off. There is not a lot of old boxers that we want to see. There's not a lot of old anything we want to see. We do want to see Mike Tyson. There's just something special there. So I think that he could be going down the wrong road. Now, as far as having a master's division and giving guys something that's good and positive to work for, to be driven to show and remind the world that it does not belong to 18 to 25-year-olds, I think is a very cool thing. As far as Mike going and doing something, Mike couldn't tell you what 2 + 2 is. So somebody has come in and used Mike's name. Let's see how that guy does. But I won't give Mike any credit for it because it's not his idea. But I also won't blame him when it ultimately fails, which it will, because it wasn't his idea.
Oh, understood. Understood. Is there any part of your combat career that you would want to do over, or you're one of those, I learned from my mistakes, it happened for a reason?
No. Oh, I do it all over. All of life. The only thing I would do in life the same is I'd marry the same girl. Outside of that, I'd redo it all. And I hear people that say it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Or say, yeah, good for you. You're a happier person than I. No, man, I only have regrets. I have regrets for things I did yesterday. I should have done this. I should have done this better. So I like the team that I was with. I like the guys. I would not change that. I love my trainer, Clayton Hires. Loved. But yeah, everything. I'd have done everything different. I'd have prepared different, trained. I don't know. There was nothing that I would do the same knowing what I know now. You brought up something really good today about fighter rankings and how they just kind of make it. Let me stop you right there. That sounds right. You said, and I quote, you brought up something really good today. That sounds right. Without even knowing what you're going to say, that sounds like something I would do. Please. You do it every day. So do you think, and I've always had an issue with this, fighter rankings should go away because it kind of holds people back from fighting anybody within their decisive divisions, because if you're a champion, you're going to have to fight everybody who's in your division anyways, hopefully,
but not everybody's like that.
I don't wish they would go away, but it is the old expression, no good deed goes unpunished. Okay, every sport has a ranking system, all of them. Football, if you're the top 25 team just within this country, you will get written up in Sports Illustrated and you'll be posted on ESPN.com. All sports are like that, right? So MMA didn't have that. And as it was coming into its own, it was becoming a mainstream sport. They said, look, one thing we are missing is a ranking. Let's get a ranking system. Well, that was done with every good intent in mind. It was also done as a way to show excitement and build praise to guys. Somewhere over time, that good deed is now going punished, which is guys are refusing to do something based on a number put next to their name. And to the point that I believe that you were trying to make, and I know it was the one I was trying to, nobody knows what that ranking is. It's a talking point. It's controversial in all fairness. Anything you have in life where people are judging people, it's unfair. Well, controversy creates cash. Controversy is a great thing to have anywhere. So even if you want to act like you don't like controversy, you got to have controversy. That's where the rankings come in, but they were not meant to be anything more than that.
Speaking of controversy creates cash, from the great Eric Bischoff, what is it going to take to have Chael Sonnen in a professional wrestling announcing table, in the ring wrestling? How can that happen?
Oh, I played with that just for a little bit. I was on one of my many suspensions, and I picked up with a league. It was called it was called Global Force Wrestling, owned by Jeff Jarrett, but that rolled into Impact, and then I think that Jeff has left it and now works for Vince again. The point is that was kind of my in, and that was kind of my hurrah. I had very much fun with that. I love being in the back with the guys, working with Aldis and Masters and some of these. It was very cool for me, but I don't think I have a place over there. I enjoy it. I think I understand that sport a little bit. I'm not as big of a fan as gets let on. I watch WrestleMania each year, and even that for me is a little too damn long. Last one I watched was a 7-hour show. That was painful. But if they come to town, I will get front row tickets. I'll take my son down there and have a good time. That's kind of my extent as a fan, though.
Absolutely. And I have a little session that I want to do with you. It's called Hot Takes with the American Gangster. Just want to get your takes on a couple of things because I think you have the best hot takes in MMA. So do you think that Ariel Helwani gets too much heat from the MMA community, or he's just doing his job?
I think he gets the heat that he wants. Ariel is a master. Ariel is a chess player while other people are playing checkers. I think that Ariel has the world right where he wants it. I think he deserves that. Ariel's rise to the top was very hard. It was very slow. I mean, he was doing his own thing with his own. He was kind of Borat in all fairness. You may not remember Ariel in those days, but he would show up at events. He would have his own camera. He'd bring you over. He'd set the camera. Then he'd walk into the shot. Then he'd have to go back to the hotel room and edit it and then put it out and hope that people see it. And he slowly built. And now he's got 2 shows on ESPN. Man, he deserves it. He worked hard for it. Absolutely. You can like Ariel or not, but you have to respect the time he put in, man. 20 and 22 hours a day, 7 days a week. That dude's committed.
And I do respect it, but me and him have a little heat because he hasn't responded to my last email. But we'll get into that another time.
He keeps blowing you off. I can help you with that.
He blew me off, but it's okay. Do you think the UFC is pushing Khamzat Chimaev too fast?
Who cares? Who gives a damn? This guy is incredible. This guy has the attitude. That will break my heart, brother. It will disappoint me like you don't know if Chimaev, like so many other guys, finally gets what he wants and then turns the gun on everybody else. If Chimaev someday is champion and then is telling God, I won't fight you, you don't deserve it. If he ever does that to somebody, the way guys are doing that to him now, that will break my heart. But I don't think he's that guy. I think he's the real deal. I think this guy is a legit competitor. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. You kick my ass or I kick yours, we'll live with the result. I don't think he's a bully. I don't think he only takes fights that he knows he can win. I think he wants to go out there and compete. And he wants to do it often. And a lot of guys can talk tough. Some guys can act. This guy has walked the walk. I am on board. No, they're not pushing him too fast. They're pushing him too slow. He's ready for a title fight as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. Speaking of, he's a welterweight and a middleweight. We got Israel Adesanya and Jon Jones going at each other on Twitter every single day. Do they fight this year? And at what weight class do they fight?
No, they're not going to fight, which is very sad. It's very sad. I mean, Jones was going the other way, right? Jones had his chance to fight Adesanya, in all fairness. Adesanya meant it, and he would have gone up, and it could have been a catch weight. It could have been for his title, my title, your title, or no title. It could have been a 3-round fight, a 5-round fight. Adesanya, he meant his words. And Jones went the other way. I mean, and in all fairness, that isn't because Jones chickened out. It was a mistake. Jones was looking for a big fight. He saw there was none at 205. He decided to go to heavyweight. The biggest fight he could possibly have is with Adesanya. It was a mistake. But it's only a mistake in hindsight. Jones didn't know that, right? I mean, Jones is a badass. I don't like Jon Jones, but Jones is a badass. He's moving up to take on either Ngannou or Stipe. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun to most people. John, looking forward to it.
Is Jon Jones, you think he's approaching father time, consider his last two performances? So heavyweight's going to be a little tougher for him and maybe he'll struggle there?
Well, I think there's some parity there. I would always think that Jones would do very well at heavyweight. I mean, just generally, the bigger you get, the worse you get. And I will tell you that from perspective. The hardest fights I had were at middleweight. Easier fights were at light heavyweight. The easiest fights were at heavyweight. From my own perspective, the bigger you get, the easier you get. I think Jones is going to do great. But I also have to take in his opinion. And he's in the practice room with those guys. He's worked out with those guys. And there was a reason that he didn't go to that weight class. I hear from guys in the practice that he doesn't lose rounds, but that they are harder, that he does struggle with some of the things he likes to do. Gets in on guys, and there's a little harder to pull down, certain things like that. So I think John's going to do great up there. Look, Stipe's a whole nother deal. I mean, Stipe's just a whole nother, and he's not going to beat Stipe. Can he compete with Stipe? Yeah, I think he can. I think he can compete with him for 25 minutes, in fact.
All right. And last question, Chael. Conor McGregor, does he fight?
We just started.
We can keep it going.
I have nothing to do. I only got one. All right, Conor McGregor, what do you got?
Conor McGregor, does he fight Dustin Poirier in charity or in the UFC, or does he fight Manny Pacquiao in the Middle East?
Or look like a fool. I mean, he's really got no choice. He called for the Poirier fight. Dana stepped in and said, good idea, I'll take it. I mean, if he does not now fight Poirier in the UFC, he looks like a fool. And Conor generally looks like the smartest guy in the room. He's a manipulator. He's pulling the string. I understand all the things, but his bluff has now been called. I have never seen Conor's bluff called and Conor back out, ever. I've never seen Conor back out. It will disappoint me. It will surprise me. But I feel as though it's coming. I feel as though the mere fact that he called for an idea, Dana said, good idea, let's do it, and he has not said, okay, great, where do I sign? I feel as though he's getting ready to exit stage left. And in fairness, as a Conor fan, that will let me down.
Absolutely. And actually, I have one more question, Chael, since we have a little bit more time. I have this conspiracy, and I'm not a big conspiracy theorist.
All right. Start at the beginning. I want to hear it all. Okay, please.
You want to hear it all? I feel that there is some kind of special relationship that Ali Abdelaziz has with the UFC. He's gotten a lot of his fighters championship fights, a time where Frankie Edgar was not, if you want to go by rankings, wasn't there in the rankings to fight Max Holloway. He got Cody Garbrandt a title shot, 125. Not to say they're not talented, but is there some kind of special relationship that Ali has with Dana White?
I will tell you this. Back up the tape. And the top manager in the world was a guy named Monty Cox. Now, Monty Cox was the dirtiest player in the game who always was able to keep a good reputation. But I mean, this guy was a boxing promoter, and that's a whole nother level of filth. But Monty Cox could get more guys in the UFC than you could shake a stick at. He had 3 champions at one time. There used to be cards that would be 5 main card fights. Every one of them was a Monty Cox guy versus somebody else. They should have called the card Monty Cox versus the world. And this would happen show after show after show. Finally asked Joe Silva about it. I go, Joe, what's up with Monty? He goes, Chael, I contact Monty. Monty answers his phone. I need an email back. Monty sends me an email. I need faxes sent in. Monty faxes them that day. He says, there's nobody more organized in this business than Monty Cox. Okay, great. Well, that's going to be a major in for an organization that needs organization. Ali is that same way. I'm fast forwarding the tape 20 years, but Ali is on top of it. You call Ali right now, he will answer that telephone. If you call him at 2 o'clock in the morning, he will answer that telephone. So when you talk about a special relationship, yes, I think that they have a good working relationship. I think over time, Ali has built the trust of my guys are going to do what my guys say they are going to do. I will speak for my guys, but you can take me at my word. I think he has very good control. I think those guys respect him. And I think the UFC respects that. And yes, I think there's a special relationship.
All right. Then my conspiracy is kind of true there in a sense. But Chael, thank you so much for the time today. I appreciate it.
Hey, if Helwani blows you off, you let me know. He'll do you the favor.
He'll take care of it for me?
I'll put it to you that way. You let me know how that goes. Good luck with everything.
Perfect. I appreciate it so much. Let me know when you want to interview me on Chael and the bag. Let me know. I'm down. I'll come on the show on ESPN. We'll do it. And we'll do part 2 of this. Please. Thank you so much, Chael.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I've had it with you. Goodbye.